efficiency is very important for me, not just in the work setting, but personally. If you can do things much more quicker while getting the same result that you want at the end of the day, time is money. If you save time, you are saving money as well.
Your employees have all been there, stressing out over deadlines, spending hours searching for answers, and dragging out unnecessary back and forths with coworkers. Outdated information and unproductive exchanges aren't just frustrating for your team, they're holding your business back from being great. What if there was a better way? What if your team could access accurate information instantly, complete tasks consistently, and even create polished, professional content with ease? Meet Sprout Concierge, your company's very own AI assistant designed to streamline your workday. As your company's go-to expert, Sprout Concierge is here to make every task easier. Setting up the bot is easy. Simply upload your files to create your custom knowledge base. Concierge learns quickly, using state-of-the-art AI technology to deliver the answers you need. Keep training the bot, and you're all set. And don't worry about your files. With secure ISO-certified technology and your own personal accounts, your internal company knowledge, content, and data remains safe. Once live, it's as simple as just chatting with the bot for what you need. Concierge becomes your team's always-on assistant, available anytime, anywhere, providing accurate responses in seconds. With Sprout Concierge, workdays become smoother, more productive, and less stressful. Empower your employees to accomplish more with a smart, reliable assistant that's always ready to help. Ready to transform your workplace with AI? Sign up today and experience Concierge with a free trial.
Our employee engagement increased by 50% in our first year of our relationship with Sprout, and that is just something that was overwhelming to us and something that I was really focused on, and the team at Pepper Money were really happy with our results.
Hello everyone, welcome to HR Experts brought to you by Sprout Solutions. I'm J Mark and I'll be your host for today's sessions. Okay, so our session is entitled The Corporate University Advantage, Turning Learning and Development into a Growth Engine. Now, today we're diving into one of the most powerful levers for organizational growth, which is learning and development. And beyond traditional training programs, many forward-thinking companies are now building corporate universities, structured learning ecosystems that directly align with business strategy and prepare teams for the future of work. In today's session, we'll explore the following. First, the business case for establishing a corporate university. Second, how to design scalable and sustainable learning programs. And third, how to prioritize learning investments that deliver long-term impact. Before we dive in, just a few quick reminders for everybody. This session is being recorded and we'll send you the replay link after the event. You can also submit your questions anytime using the Q&A box, and we'll tackle those later during the open forum. And before we kick off, a quick word about who's behind this special event. Sprout Solutions is the largest and the most trusted homegrown B2B SaaS company in the Philippines. Now celebrating our 10th year, we continue to follow our North Star, impacting lives and improving businesses by helping organizations and their people thrive through AI-powered HR, fintech, and business solutions. To open today's discussions, we are joined by the inspiring team from Emerge PH, an organization helping businesses and leaders transform through people-first and purpose-driven growth strategies. Their session, entitled Modern Learning Strategies for Building a Corporate University, will explore how organizations can actually integrate human skills such as communication, leadership, and adaptability alongside technical training to build a culture of continuous learning. First, let's meet our speakers. Eli has dedicated over a decade to helping leaders and organizations in the Philippines grow in purpose, culture, and impact, not just, of course, revenue. He designs human-centric leadership programs and strengthens internal cultures for SMEs, enterprise clients, and fast-growing startups. Eli believes that leadership is about unlocking potential, empowering managers and emerging leaders by believing in people, extending trust, and practicing servant leadership. Emerge PH also provides scholarships for underserved Filipino youth, aligning business success with social impact. Eli speaks on coaching cultures, emotional intelligence, and values based leadership, and has moderated panels, led roundtables, and served as an adjunct faculty member and mentor in the MBA program at Southwestern University in Cebu. Joining him is, of course, Gladys Palarca, a transformational coach, speaker, and co founder of Emerge PH. Gladys champions a human centered approach to leadership and culture building, believing that growth starts from within. In her workshops and women's events, she often reminds participants that growth is an inside job. As a multifaceted leader, mother, daughter, partner, and entrepreneur, Gladys embraces the power of women to nurture families, build companies, and lead with clarity and compassion, blending feminine wisdom with grounded strength. Drawing inspiration from frameworks like multipliers and trust and inspire, she focuses on leadership that empower authenticity and conscious connection. Gladys speaks on topics such as trust and inspire leadership, conscious relationships, and building cultures of care and clarity. She has also led transformative programs, hosts the YouTube channel Gladys on Love, exploring intimacy and self relationship, and continues to inspire others to stand in their truth and lead from within. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome and join me in welcoming Eli Harrell and Gladys Palarca of Emerge PH.
Wow, thank you so much. What an amazing intro, Ray Mark. Appreciate that so much.
Sure.
Really happy to be here today with everyone, and thank you, Sprout team, for inviting us to talk about this topic that we're very passionate about. So, in the 12 years that I've been here in the Philippines full time, I've had the pleasure of meeting a lot of people in this country, and really the purpose of Emerge PH is to inspire and support as many Filipinos as possible to really kind of see their own potential, develop it with more ownership and intention, and really kind of see the Philippines rise up. Because if the people in this country really know who they are in the world, I think we can see the Philippines continue to be really kind of shooting up as the world is very shaky and other countries are sort of falling apart. Philippines, I think, is in an amazing place right now. And so I'm excited to meet all of you, and hopefully something that we can share today will help with the work that you do. So we're going to be talking about, I should say, let Gladys say good morning. So I'm joined by, I'm here in Manila right now. Gladys is in Negros, and yeah, Gladys, go ahead and say hi.
Good morning, everyone. Very happy to be here. And thank you, Sprout, for allowing us to be part of this event. And I guess just a very quick, whenever I start workshop or whatever event, I always love to start with a grounding meditation or practice. So I just want to invite everyone to just take a pause. Just whatever you're doing, just pause for a minute. Take a deep breath through your nose and exhale through your mouth. And whatever it is that whatever chaos that you're going through in your mind, just let it release and just be in the here and now. And I'm very happy and grateful to be here with you all. So, one last breath, inhale and exhale. Welcome, everyone. I just wanted to do that. All right, back to you, Eli.
Yeah, good idea. Thank you, Gladys. All right, so today, the 25 minutes or 22 minutes we have left, would just really ask you guys to please give us feedback in the chat. It's not a lot of time, but if you can just interact, and if there's something you like, tell us. If there's a question, we'll answer them later. But yeah, would love to hear from all of you. Or if I'm talking too fast or something didn't make sense, just pop it in chat. So today we're going to be talking about, like, obviously any company, hopefully every company out there in the world would really understand that, like, the future of your company and like the success of any organization is, yes, technology is important, but it's always down to people, right? Because people are the lifeblood. Humans are at the center of organizations. That's what organizations are. It's a group of people that come together to row in the same direction. And the potential that's within the people in our organizations, if we could unleash more of it, like you couldn't believe what you could actually get done, right? If we really had people that were thriving and growing. So how do we help make sure that we've got we've got teams and individuals within our organization that see who they could become and that are really kind of transforming themselves and always growing. And the big challenge that we run into right now, that's the bigger challenge than ever, is that change is happening faster and faster and faster. So the goals are shifting faster than they ever have. We already have skills gaps when people come out of school. There are already things that they, might still really need to be successful in the business world. But that skills gap is also kind of growing because AI is changing the game, and we think that specifically human skills are the biggest gap. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. And when pressures mount, when pressures to perform get higher, the skills are a bigger gap, and people just aren't really where they need to be at. Then pressure just mounts. People end up being burnt out or feeling like they're not growing. And the biggest reasons people leave jobs is either just a bad environment that they work within, like toxic environment, and or they don't feel like they're growing, right? So obviously this leads to regrettable attrition, where we have the people that we really wish would stay and grow leave, right? So these are the things that we think are the biggest challenges. Let me know if you want to add anything, pop it in chat. But the biggest argument that we want to make today is like that it's the differentiator isn't technology and it's not technical skills. It's really human skills. And so we're going to talk about what I've come to realize is that no matter how advanced an organization is, I almost know I know of very few organizations on this planet, very few teams or people running companies who would say that they have a very, very reliable method of transforming people into their potential, right? Transforming people in leadership skills and let's say coaching, ability to give and receive feedback. Like most companies would not say we have a reliable way of upskilling people in those areas. Most companies have reliable ways of upskilling people in technical skills, right? But not necessarily in the other side of things. And one of the biggest challenges here is that we're relying on methods that don't really work that well. So the problem with like one-off learning situations, like a workshop or a seminar or a training, is that people just forget, like they don't install those habits into their lives. They get new ideas, but they don't have time to map it into life, right? To integrate it. And then we try to use platforms where we have modules that people should do on their own, like self-paced learning on LMS, video learning, whatever. But self-paced learning also really tends to fall short of actually changing anyone. So what we would really propose to you is that the key is we not only need a method that works, but we also need to really be focusing not just on the easier skills to upskill, which are the kind of the job skills that people have to have, but also helping people grow who they are into their leadership skills, into their ability to interact with other people, into their ability to inspire and coach and work with other people, right? So the best companies out there are really investing in both, and it's quite tricky. It's quite challenging. So anybody listening today, that like if you're responsible for this part of your organization and growing people and learning and development, et cetera, you know how hard it is, right? To take on all of this stuff. So we're going to be just talking about a few of our perspective on how to make this more effective. And again, communication, adaptability, leadership, empathy, these are all under human skills, right? So the ability to communicate well, again, give and receive feedback, coaching, not just coaching KPIs, but coaching people into their potential, proactively helping people, inspiring people to want to be better. These are really challenging skills that not many of us have been taught. So how do we really successfully upskill people into those skills? So what Emerge PH is doing is we're really trying to change the game to move learning towards something that is much more human and that actually works for people. So let me kind of walk you through the way we think humans, from all of the research that we've done and all of the way that we work with our clients across the Philippines. we've seen that this just works better, right? So instead of either a one-off learning experience like a seminar, training, workshop, etc., or try to use just a platform and have people do self-paced learning and assign it to them and expect them to get it done. We believe that these are the key factors of getting an amazing learning journey. One, we use blended learning, so a combination of facilitated live sessions where people get excited. Two, and probably this one should be one, probably should reverse these. It needs to be with others. Humans learn best with other people. Most people don't learn that well on their own, right? And it's way more fun and engaging, but also the magic. And tell me if you guys would agree. So let me ask this question. Tell me in chat what you think. Can you think back on the most amazing learning experiences you've ever had? Weren't they probably with other people? It's these conversations we have with our friends or our peers. So if we have the right peers, the right small group of people that's going through a learning journey together across time, that's where the magic happens, right? So it needs to be cohort-based peer connection. We need to have time, need to be spaced out so that people can learn a concept, go try to apply it in real life, find out, map it into your own experience and try to integrate it, come back and reflect and talk to the same group of people that's on that journey with you. And then you realize like, oh yeah, okay, that kind of worked, but didn't quite work. I'll go back and I'll try to make this one tweak. Oh yeah, now it's really working, right? Now I got it right. And then the big thing that we also need to be able to do is measure if this is working. So whatever learning initiatives that we launch, one thing that we also see typically missing is that most organizations don't have good numbers on ROI. Is this actually affecting business goals? So these are the things that we think kind of the major tick boxes that all learning experiences ideally would use to make sure that they stick and that it's effective, right? All right. So, just kind of a data point. The research shows that 12% of employees apply what they learned from self-paced e-learning. Just kind of a random data point here to pop in, but it's like we can't just use one or the other. We have to create more comprehensive and innovative learning. So the way that we approach it, just imagine whether it's 5 weeks, 7 weeks, or 3 months. What ideally works is that you have a mixture of blended, like a live session to kick it off, where people get this is what we're going to learn. These are some of the concepts. And then 2 weeks from now, we're going to come back and talk again in a live session that's facilitated with the same peers. And 2 weeks from now, we're going to actually practice some of these ideas, right? Some of these new concepts, some of these new frameworks. But in between, every single day in between on an app, you're just going to have some drip content. Like there's going to be a 2 or 4 minute video with one challenge that you need to do that day and post it in chat that you did it, right? How did it make you feel? What did you learn? What experience did you have when you tried it? And when you do this across time, people keep it top of mind, right? If it's gamified also, if it has like a leaderboard, if there's something you can win, if you do it in small groups where you've got peers that help you go along throughout it, this works much better. And that way it just, humans don't learn overnight. We can't just be fire hosed and switch. Like we have to sort of have this journey over time. All right. Gladys, if there's anything in chat that I need to see, let me know because I can't read and talk. So
Yeah.
again, cohort, yeah, anything? No?
Yeah, I was just asking people how do they learn best? And I love that they're actually agreeing to what you just said. Like inspirational learning and learning with peers is really one of the best way that they feel like they learn the most. And just to add on what you said, I think for me, the most transformational part of the learning journey that we provide is like the space in between where people really integrate the learnings that they got from the workshop and to have that accountability support of the community to support them as they integrate those and as what you said, come back and reflect on those experiences and learning. So yeah.
Thank you. So again, just kind of a different way of looking at it, but cohort learning journeys with peers spaced over time for integration and reflection, like exactly what Gladys just said, and using technology and facilitation, right? So it's not either or, it's both. So how can we design? And look, it's a big challenge, right? So the stuff that we do is kind of we help our clients, we help L&D teams, we help companies that don't yet have L&D teams to kind of map out what are their business goals, what are they trying to achieve, and the most important thing is who in the organization needs to learn what right now. Who's ready for this? That's one of the hardest things to figure out. Hard to know that. And then how do we make sure that we got the right people in this cohort and taking them across this journey using technology and facilitation? But the facilitation is more about, it's not about sage on the stage so much. It's not about having an expert that you're learning from, because it's not mentoring. It's learning new ideas and then talking to peers about it as you go along. So facilitation is magic, but you don't necessarily have to be the biggest expert on the topic necessarily. You need to understand it well enough, but you don't need to be the, the like that expert, right? Okay, so just a little bit about our philosophy, kind of on how humans perform, and this is how we approach the learning, the learning topics that we focus on. Again, we don't really do much in technical skills. Sometimes we help our clients with designing things like marketing and sales training, but mostly we focus on the underlying human part of performance, and we believe that that has three pillars that supports performance. So first, you have to have source. It doesn't matter how good you are at your job or how motivated you are if you don't have the battery, like you're just not going to be able to show up, right? So mental health, wellness, all of these things come down to actually life skills. And we didn't get taught this stuff in school, and most of us didn't learn it. So do you actually know why you didn't sleep well, or why you feel super tired, or why you feel down right now? And a lot of times there's things in our lives that we're not paying attention to. We don't stop and reflect enough. And so that's one of the things that Emerge PH focuses on, is running programs to help groups of people to be more aware and then decide what they want to work on and then get the skills. The next one is ability. So beyond technical ability, no matter how good you are at your job skills, your limit will be, your upper limit will be measured by your human skills. It's going to be your ability to understand others, your own self-awareness, your self-relationship, your emotional intelligence, ability to communicate, coaching others, etc. And then people have to want to show up as their best selves. They have to have a desire to get better. And that's only going to happen if they feel actually connected to the purpose of the company and the sort of the vibe, right? So the core values and just the entire organization, what it's about, and the people that they work with, the way that they are trusted and the way that they trust. So these are the three areas we help companies kind of look at when they're trying to figure out how do we actually grow people into their potential. I'm going to share with you at the end of this an assessment that I really encourage you to do later. It takes about 10 minutes, but it will actually help you to figure out how your company is doing right now, your organization, how you're doing in your learning and development and leadership and talent development systems. All right, so we're going to do some practice, and because we just have a bit of a limited amount of time today, we can't bring other people into it. So Gladys and I are just going to do a little bit of modeling, but this is to illustrate the kind of learning experiences that are so magical and how you can facilitate learning that people will take home, like that really sticks with them because they experienced something, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of modeling of one of our programs that we've designed a framework called CPR Plus, which is a coaching framework. And this is designed for any levels of leadership. In fact, we would argue that if you want your frontline performers to perform better and for their KPIs to improve, like supervisors and team leads actually need some coaching skills, because if they don't make those people feel good about themselves and inspire them to want to get better, that takes coaching skills, right? That takes a kind of skill that most people actually have never learned. So we have a certification track for coaching at different levels of leadership. And what Gladys is going to do right now is she's going to be the coach and I'm going to be the person who has a bit of a challenge. And we're just going to show you kind of how we model this, or how we facilitate groups of people in our coaching certification learning. And this is one of the ways we do it. So I'm going to turn it over to Gladys to show us a little bit about how that works.
All right, so this is just a modeling of how the CPR Plus is actually going to look like. And this is just a framework that will guide you, and you can always do some ad lib that feels natural for you. All right. Hi, Eli. Good morning. Thank you for coming in here. And prior to this call, I asked you to bring or come to me with what are some of the challenge that you've been going through right now. And I'm happy that you're here and willing to talk about it. And for this session, I really want to understand what happened and also how you feel about that situation. That way we can find a better way to navigate it. Can you share with me what happened? Something that you and the other people who's involved actually, can agree with. If that is that okay?
Do you want me to use this model of the circumstance? Like
Yes.
kind of, okay, so the circumstance that so like my feelings are all kind of jumbled up, but if you force me to break it apart and I just talk about the circumstance, I would say what I'm noticing is that when I share ideas with my team, I keep seeing this pattern where they're coming back with doubts and they're kind of telling me why things are not going to work.
Mm, I
Yeah.
can. Yeah, that's very tough. So it's like you're sharing your ideas and people are doubting or not, just doubting it. And that's not a good feeling. So how does it make you feel when they do that?
So I guess the stories that are in my brain, the way I'm perceiving it is that they're not supportive. This is the narrative that's running through my head is like, they're not supporting me. They don't think my ideas are good. They don't appreciate me.
And that's tough. When you feel that way, I can just imagine how you would show up and how that conversation would look like. But let's take a pause and actually look, because that's true for you and that's definitely real, and let's acknowledge that. But if we want to show up differently or better, what do you think could be as true as well? Like something opposite to what you just said. What do you think could also be true in their end?
I guess if I imagine myself in their shoes, probably it just tells me that maybe they've got some fears or they're having a hard time visualizing that reality, or
Hmm.
maybe I have to show them a little bit more of the journey that I'm envisioning to get their buy-in
Hmm.
instead of expecting them to just jump to the conclusion already.
Mm, I love that. And how does it feel if you see it that way? If that's as true to what your initial story is, how do you think you would show up in that conversation with them?
Yeah, maybe instead of getting frustrated and expressing it, I'll go back and do a little more work to come back to set up a meeting where I can kind of show them more data and maybe visually represent my idea better.
That's a very good idea. And is there anything that I can support you to get that conversation going? Or what would be your next step in making that happen?
I will reach out to them tomorrow. Maybe we can just check in next week and you can
Yeah,
I'll let you know how it goes.
definitely. And we can do another check-in in Friday if that works for you so that we can reflect on how it goes. Would that be okay?
That works. Thank you.
All right, perfect. All right. So that's it. Go ahead,
All right.
Eli.
Thank you,
Wrap
Gladys.
this
That
up.
was good. So you guys can see Gladys is a good coach, but you know what? She's only been coaching for a couple of years. She's not been doing this for that long. And when you have a model like that you can practice, you can actually learn it pretty quick. It takes some, sometimes we just need that framework, but we need practice. We need practice before we go try it in real life. And so when you're able to practice that safely with a group, so what we do is like in that program, we do a lot of practice with triads where one person's the coach, the other person's the coachee, and then the other third person is actually giving feedback on the model. It's like, hey, here's what you did well, you followed the model, but here's where I think you kind of strayed from the model, and maybe that's going to create problems if you do it in real life, right? So the point, all we're trying to illustrate here is that if you're creating learning journeys that don't have that kind of practice, you're expecting people to sort of just digest ideas and then go do it, but they won't. It's too scary. It's too hard to kind of go from a concept to trying it in real life a lot of times. We need that step in between where we get to practice with a safe space with no risk. Um, that's what I wanted to show you. So I hope that helps. Hope that makes sense. Again, I haven't really said this, but please feel free to reach out to us if you have any curiosity about kind of the way that we approach helping companies build their journeys. All right, so we're gonna wrap up pretty soon here. Um, the point here again is if people learn together across time, when there's guided facilitation, that's where transformation really happens. But we also need to keep it fresh in mind during our busy lives, right? So peer learning builds empathy, accountability, and confidence that no like just workshop or module can replicate. So remember that effective learning design starts with understanding, again, what your people really need. That's tricky. So talk to us if you want to know, because I can't explain how I would approach that. Depends on your company, but how do you figure that out? The key is also that the business goals have to be met. So you got to figure out how to connect these two together. And you also have to make sure that it's a cultural fit, right? So both Philippines culture and the company culture. And sometimes that's really tricky if you're also working with cultures from other countries, et cetera. We also would argue, let's just say we would invite you and suggest you to think about how you approach partnering, because I've noticed some companies really try to either do everything in-house or they work with partners for everything. But I think the best setup that I've seen is when the most advanced companies that I see, they know where their expertise lies within. So they know what their team internally should probably be doing. And then they know when they should be working with an external partner. So I also think that the energy we invest in partnerships can really transform our companies. And a lot of companies don't think this way. So if you're in HR or L&D, think about how can I be also taking care of partnership relationships, I think is a part of leadership that some people don't put enough energy into. So think through, how do I choose partners well? How do I invest in the relationship? And how can I sort of get them to help me do my job better, right? So modern learning success is measured by growth over time in the individual, stronger trust, better coaching, higher retention, but also business goals being met. Got to track it, adapt it, and keep it alive. It's not something that we just figure out overnight. It takes many repetitions to start getting it better. And here, we'll just basically wrap it up here and just say that we would love, if any of you are curious to chat with us, we're very open to any kind of conversations or questions. Please connect with us on LinkedIn. And we're going to give you a free assessment right now that you can do. I would encourage you to grab this, get it on your phone or your computer, and do it after the program today, because it'll take you probably 10 minutes. And I would really recommend that you focus. The questions are not difficult, but they do take a little bit of focus to make sure that you're thinking through what they mean. And then at the end, you're going to get a report, a dynamic report that kind of tells you where you're at right now in I think it's 5 or 6 different categories. 5. It's about 75 questions, so it might take you about 10 minutes, all right? So thank you all for being here and listening to us, and we'll do Q&A at the end. And again, please feel free to reach out if you think we might be able to support you in any way.
Yay, thank you so much, Eli and Gladys. Truly, you have reminded everybody that human interaction, human connections are still should be the forefront of learning, especially in companies and businesses. So thank you so much for reminding that to everybody. So we also wanted to appreciate of course, Eli and Gladys for that deeply insightful and energizing discussion. I love that you both emphasize that learning is not just about acquiring skills, right? It's about shaping the mindset and the cultures that fuel sustainable growth. So guys, if you have any questions to our speakers, feel free to drop them in the Q&A box, and we will be revisiting them in our open forum later, right after the next session. Okay, thank you. So up next, we're bringing the conversation closer to home with Sprout's very own Abby Galvey, the head of people operations at Sprout Solutions. In her session entitled Prioritizing What Matters, a Practical Guide, Abby will share how to balance quick wins and long-term investments when building corporate learning programs, especially when resources are limited. She will also unpack how to align learning priorities with organizational goals and KPIs, ensuring every development initiative drives measurable impact. So our next speaker has approximately 15 years of experience in the HR field across fintech, IT, software startups, and the BPO industry for both local and global companies. She began a career in recruitment before transitioning into a broader HR generalist role. Over the past decade, she has taken on leadership responsibilities, successfully heading HR teams. And currently, she serves as the People Operations Head at Sprout Solutions, the Philippines' leading HR tech company. Ladies and gentlemen, let's all welcome our next speaker, Miss Abby Galvey.
Hi everyone. Good morning, and thank you, J Mark, for that very warm introduction. So I'm very excited to discuss with you all the next part of the program, which is to build a corporate university. This is where we are prioritizing what matters the most, no, in terms of L&D. All right, so without further ado, let's take it to the next slide. All right. So to start off, no, we would like to also acknowledge that there's a challenge in L&D right now. No? So the challenge is balancing ambition and reality in L&D. So every organization, of course, we want a culture of continuous learning, but not every team has the time and budget and bandwidth for it, right? Um, so for the ambition, this is to build future-ready talent. So whenever we do recruitment, we want them to be able to have lesser time to productivity. That's the goal, right? So once we get them on board, we want them to start being productive right away. And at the same time, the reality is that there's of course limited resources and there's also competing priorities wherein it's very accessible now to job seekers and employees to compare what are the learning initiatives that are available in other companies, right? So it's often than not that employees would really tend to have that idea, that information, and they would want to, of course, achieve that in the company that they're in. So there's a tendency also for learning and development departments or HR departments or management to have reactive training requests because of these. No, so we don't have, I would say, the lack of data for, let's say, the lack of data for us to be able to successfully compare and to successfully initiate training programs for our employees would be the cause for the delay the organization to implement these learning programs. And then many L&D teams are also stuck in a loop wherein responding to requests like we need the most common is that, like example is, we need Excel training, or we need software development training, or we need soft skills training, like that, instead of driving strategic capability building. So what we're saying here is that the more proactive the organization is, the lesser training requests, that you receive, for the reason that you already you already make the learning available to the employees rather than waiting for the request to be made, from the employees. The also the downside of that is that there's also the need for you to evaluate whether the training request is needed, or let's say, for instance, there's that awkwardness also of having to decline training requests. If let's say, for instance, okay, we don't have the budget for it, or this is not the priority at the moment. So it's going to be a very not so good conversation between the request between the employee who requested it and the one who would decline it as well. No? So if there's a more proactive way for the organization to give learning paths or learning programs ahead of the request, there you would already, of course, eliminate those awkward conversations. So the quick key question here is that how can we focus our energy on learning that actually moves the business forward? So that's actually one of the things that we are going to talk about later on. It's more intentional and it's more focused on the business goals rather than just like an out of a whim request from employees. So, okay, let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so first we would like to define what corporate university is and what it is not. So corporate university, what it is that it's a strategic, structured learning ecosystem tied to business goals. So strategic or structured learning, meaning it's not it's not by just out of a request, or it's not just because it's available in the market, or it's not just because you saw it in an ad and then you create a learning for everyone. This is strategic, wherein it is tied to business goals. No, so for instance, the goal for the business is to increase, let's say, customer satisfaction. So you need to be able to structure the learning that surrounds that particular goal towards developing customer satisfaction, right? So later on, I will also give some examples on that one. And then the misconception of a corporate university is that it's an actual university. So it's not limited to just the classroom setting. No? So because of the term university, sometimes employees or people would always think that I need to be enrolled in an actual university like an MBA or master's graduate studies, for me to have that corporate university implemented in my organization. So that is the misconception. No? So that's nice if you're able to sponsor further studies for your employees, but it's actually not just the definition of a corporate university. No, so a corporate university, I think Eli and Gladys also mentioned that earlier, that the best learning is actually learning it with your peers, learning it with somebody else, learning from your leaders. No, so we will be also tackling the examples of a corporate university that is not just limited to a classroom setting or actually being enrolled in a university. So an example of which would be onboarding academies. So onboarding is not just equipping your employees with the tools that they would need for the entirety of their tenure with the company. It's actually allowing them to learn the culture, allowing them to learn what are the common communication or the common processes that you have in the organization. What are the cultural conversations that you have in your organization, the jargon that you use in the team. Also is another example is leadership program. So those are the examples of corporate university wherein it's a learning series. It's not just a one-off. After the, let's say, a leadership essentials, what comes after the leadership essentials? Do you focus on, let's say, handling difficult conversations or delegation? And then the next one would be coaching. The next one would be, let's say, mentoring. No, so those are the things that would be a good example of a corporate university. All right, so next slide, please. Okay, so why does prioritization matter? So the trap of doing everything in learning and development is definitely it's going to be very costly. Like sometimes we are overwhelmed with the idea of, okay, we want to implement learning and development in our organization. So where do you now start? Sometimes the idea of starting is very overwhelming, that the tendency is that you grab whatever it is that is accessible. Like, okay, there's a learning for AI, I'm gonna enroll all of my employees there, and then after that there's going to be a learning for, let's say, SEO, or learning for soft skills in communication, or email, or business writing, something like that. So if there's no prioritization, the tendency is that not just the one who implements it will be overwhelmed, but also the one who would learn it would be overwhelmed. Like, what is it that we're really focused on, or what is it that what is the result out of the learning that we're in, right? So having to do everything at once is definitely not going to fix the problem at once as well. So the impact of limited resources is also a factor, and it's definitely one of the reasons why we need to prioritize, because you need to also be able to look into how much time do you have, how much budget do you have, and the people who would need the learning. So like the example that I mentioned earlier, like if you just unstructurally give out learning and development programs for everyone, it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to get the results that you need for your business. So you need to be able to really look into the people who would really need that learning. What are their skills? What are their skill gaps? And then from there, you'll be able to focus on uh, what are the learning and development programs that you need to implement for you to bridge that skill gap, right? And then the last is to focus as a strategic advantage. So we keep mentioning earlier, and I think also Eli and Gladys also mentioned this earlier, that it needs to be tied to business goals. It needs to be it has to have that like a strategic or a business forward approach, wherein it makes you to it creates a strategic advantage, not just for the employees but also for the business overall. All right, so next slide. Okay, so once that we've already know what to prioritize, no, and the importance of prioritizing, where do we start when resources are limited? So that's the next question. So most of the time, whenever we look into learning and development, it's always something that the common reaction is that it's very costly, or it's probably like least priority probably of some of the organizations, because of course the priority would be like the very basic ones, like I would say if your priority would be scaling, so your priority would be in recruitment, right? But what we fail to also look into is that if you do recruitment and you don't look into, let's say, retention, I think it was also mentioned earlier that one of the key things that people or employees, the one of the reasons why employees stay with the company is because they have that ability or the opportunity to grow within that organization, and growth is also one of the influence, one of the things that influences growth is actually learning and development. No? So if there's an opportunity for employees to really see themselves growing in the company, then the retention would also follow. No? So if you're able to identify critical business goals and capability gaps, that's where you need to start when resources are limited. No, so let's say, for instance, I mentioned earlier. Let's say if the critical business goal is customer support. No, if you needed to improve on customers satisfaction, and then you also look into the capability gaps of your employees, you are targeting the learning and development towards the actual business goal of and you're addressing specific issues of the organization, rather than giving learning and development as just like a perk or a part of the benefit of the organization, wherein that it doesn't actually target any issue or address any kind of issue. And then next is to map existing learning assets and resources. So what do you currently have in your organization is something that you should also be able to understand, like how do you optimize it? How do you how well versed are your employees in also identifying their own skill gaps, and at the same time your leaders, how are well versed are they in also identifying the skill gaps or the development opportunities of their team members. So if you do have existing resources to be able to address that, as well as the tools that you currently have now, it's going to give you a good realization as to what are the tools that you need to invest to next, right? If you, let's say, you understand that, okay, these are the things that we need but we don't have at the moment. So now it would be easier for you to, let's say if you're in L&D or if you're in HR, it will be easier for you to propose this to upper management. Okay, we need this. We need this particular learning platform, or we need this. We need to partner with this training and development facilitator. It's going to be easier for you to again prioritize the business need. So for instance, you're given a specific budget, you will be able to allocate that budget to what the company really is in need of. So if there is a lack in a particular business need, then you'll be able to identify what are the resources that you need to propose for you to be able to address that particular issue. And then next is prioritize programs that drive measurable business impact. So again, this is something that's very important, because I think what's happening nowadays is because there's an influx in technology and in AI. A lot of people are like, okay, let's enroll everybody in AI, so, or let's enroll everybody in on automation. I think this is very particular and one of the experiences that I have in the past few years. We're in social media. So that was a very long time ago, right? So when social media was, it is where social media is booming, right? So that's probably around maybe 12, 13 years ago. There was a time when our business leaders were like, okay, everybody needs to have a workshop in how to maximize social media presence and everything like that, right? But what I guess that what we fail to really understand there is that, is it really necessary for everybody in the business, or everybody in the organization? Because somebody, let's say for instance in finance, or somebody in, like me, in HR, that would be nice to know, if I'm able to understand, let's say, how am I able to, let's say, increase my social media presence, let's say for employer branding and the like. No? But somebody that does not really have much role to play in social media would find it very difficult to understand the technicalities of it. No? So you need to be able to prioritize programs that really measure business impact, rather than just to, let's say, join the bandwagon. No? So you need to be able to understand, what is it for? Is it going to benefit the entire team, or is it just going to benefit some of the team? No? So if that would be the case, then it will be more measurable, in a sense that, okay, if this team, if this particular department increases their efficiency by a certain percentage because we enroll them in a particular workshop, then that's how you are able to successfully measure that this learning initiative is indeed successful, rather than just counting the number of participants in that particular module, or that particular training program. And then lastly, start small. So pilot, measure, and scale. So if you're unsure about the training programs that you want to implement for the organization, you need to, of course, pilot it first. Again, since technology is evolving right now, and we want to be able to, of course, equip our employees, our organization with the latest technology. But at the same time, it is, technology is always evolving, and we need to be able to also understand how technology affects each of the departments, because it doesn't just one technology does not fit all. No, so we need to be able to pilot test it first. If it's, let's say for instance, it works for a particular department, but it doesn't for the other department, then you would be able to understand really what the need is for, let's say, subscribing into a platform, or let's say investing in a tool, no? And you need to be able to measure the success. Again, as I mentioned earlier, if you're able to success efficiency for that particular change, then you have the idea now to, if you're going to upgrade, or if you're going to maintain, if you're going to change platforms, rather than just having it for the sake of just having it. No. All right. So yeah, that's it for that slide. Let's like next slide. Okay. So for the next slide, so we are talking about here the quick wins versus the long-term investment. So here we're going to give you an idea of the things that you can implement from 0 to 3 months. So those are the quick wins. Those are the things that you can implement immediately, you know, in your organization, versus the ones that needs more time and more thought, and the long it's more of a long-term play from 6 to 18 months, wherein it's more of like a learning series, or you know, there's a lot of preparation and partnership that are involved in the long-term investment. No? So examples of quick wins, the ones that you can implement right away or make some changes right away, are revised onboarding. You know, so I mentioned earlier that, you know, onboarding is not just plain onboarding wherein you equip the employee with, you know, like the accesses that they need, the pre-employment and whatever it is that they need. It's actually also equipping the employees into what they will be doing on a day-to-day when they enter that organization. So I mentioned earlier about, you know, the culture that you have in the organization. It's a good opportunity for them to learn it from the onboarding stage. So from there, they are able to already adapt quickly, you know, on the things that the organization do on a day-to-day basis. So, you know, the usual conversation that you have. So in our organization, we are very big on feedback. So we always use the term radical candor. So radical candor is challenging directly while caring personally. So those are the things that we always hear from each other, you know, whenever we want to give feedback. And that's something that you want to implement also on the onboarding stage, so that from there they are able to already um, um, get a good sense of how do we do things here in the on the organization, and how do I apply it right away also. So yeah, and then another example is manager and enablement tools. So this is very useful, especially if you have a lot of up and coming managers or leaders in the organization. You know, they don't necessarily have an idea what to expect, you know, when they enter into that leadership space, because they have been in the other side of the fence for the entirety of their employment or and their stay with the organization, and then suddenly they would be expected to become a leader when they transition into that particular role. No, so you need to be able to enable them, or you need to prepare them for when they take on that leadership role. So toolkits such as, you know, performance management, access, or performance. What does the performance management look like from a perspective of a leader when I do evaluation for my team? What are the how do I initiate, let's say, a performance improvement plan if it's necessary for my team, or let's say if there's a disciplinary issue, how do I initiate, let's say, a notice to explain, or, you know, what are the code of conduct or policies that we have in our organization, because as a leader you need to be able to always have that um, as a reference, no, for you to be able to manage the team. No? So those are the things that you can quickly do or implement as quick wins. No. Next is learning communities or mentorship. So this is probably my favorite, no, because learning communities is very fun, not just for the one who organizes it, but also the volunteers, you know, or the willing team members who who would like to be part of the learning communities, you'd be surprised how many talented individuals you have in your organization who would be willing to share their skills, their learned skills. Like especially nowadays, there's a lot of things that we are very we're very amazed with, especially with technology. If there's somebody who's very very good at, let's say, Canva, it's a very good opportunity for them to share what they have learned from just tinkering and just playing around with the platform, and how it can be helpful not just to them but also to their teammates and other departments as well. So in our organization, we had a very recent AI hackathon. We call it sorry, how do we say it? A hack AI hackathon. I forgot how to say it, but yeah, it's an AI hackathon wherein a lot of our non-tech departments, they are encouraged to develop something that can help their day-to-day through the use of AI and automation. So it's a very cool and a very inspiring, very encouraging program that one of our departments implemented for the non-tech department. So it's very encouraging because we do have a product and engineering team, but the ones that are developing these automation and AI based processes is actually coming from non-tech individuals. No, so yeah, those are the things that you can implement immediately within 0 to 3 months. You will be able to immediately put together a community wherein there is a lot of learning from each other. Brown bag sessions and mentorship, even for those who've been in the industry for quite some time. It would be a very good and a very quick win, for those who are just starting in the industry, and then learning from somebody who's been in the industry for like 10 or 15 or more years. So that's one. And then lastly is lunch and learn series. So yeah, I think I sort of mentioned it earlier, like the brown bag sessions. No? So these are very quick, and also one of the things that inspires me is that not just the side where the employees are learning from the ones who are teaching, but actually the ones who are who sharing their idea, sharing their expertise is also very inspiring and encouraging, because sometimes you would see that they are not very comfortable in presenting, or they're not very comfortable in making slides, but because of these avenues wherein they have opportunity to have these lunch and learns, they develop their facilitating skills, or they develop their skills to train, they develop their skills to coach. So it's also like it's a two-way win, not just for the learners but also to the facilitator. And then we go to the long-term plays. These are the ones that you really take time to prepare for, and really have take time to give a lot of thought of. So these are the ones that usually last from 6 to 18 months. So Leadership Academy. So leadership is not just a one-off. Also, it's not just one workshop and immediately the leaders are already great leaders or excellent leaders. So there's a lot of things that you need to also undergo when you emerge into that leadership skill. And it's always a constant learning, because it's always different every time you deal with people. You don't just deal with products or the services, you also deal with different situations wherein you have to handle different different emotions of people. So soft skills is very important. I think I mentioned earlier, delegation is very important. Coaching, how do you do coaching? How do you do how do you handle difficult situations, what is the mindset of a leader. So yeah, it is a continuous learning process for leaders. No, it's not just once you step into that leadership role, that's it. It's actually a continuous process. And then next is technical certification track. So in our organization, we always have annual certifications for specific positions. So it's not just a compliance thing. It's actually a way for us to update ourselves. No, so let's say in Sprout Solutions we have a lot of payroll processors. So we need to be able to update ourselves in the changes that always happen. Let's say in government contributions. I'm sure the HR practitioners here can relate. I think it's every year that they change the computation for PhilHealth or just I think a few years ago the taxes are also changed. So you need to be able to equip yourself for those changes, no, so you don't get left behind. Same thing with technical skills like software development skills. So I've been in recruitment for, let's say, 15 or so years. And I would say that a software developer's job description is so much different 3 to 5 years ago than the job description of a software developer right now. So you need to be able to also update yourself on the certifications that are needed now for the role. No? So it's always different every so often. And then internal learning portals. So this is also very important for you to have in your organization as a long-term investment, because learning portals is a reference for learning histories. No, it's a way for you to track what are the things that you've already implemented in the organization for this particular role, for this particular department, and then what are the how do you now measure the learning history. Has it been the learning effectivity as well, no? So has it been effective for this particular department, for this particular employee? And then from there you will be able to also identify or analyze for yourself the next the learning path. So it's easier for you to prioritize. It's easier for you to eliminate the experimentation as well, no? Because when you do experience that, there's a lot of costs that are involved as well. So the more targeted the learning path is, the more worthwhile your investment is going to be. And then lastly, succession and capability framework. So it's also important for your organization to have succession planning and capability framework. So we're in, if you feel that a particular employee or set of individuals have potential to have leadership roles or take it to the next step, no, you'll be able to successfully plan out their succession plans and also their capability frameworks. Then, all right, so next slide, please. Okay, so aligning training with business strategies and KPIs is very important. So as I keep on mentioning earlier, no, it needs to be tied to business goals. So this is just an example of a business strategy, training with business strategy and KPI. So let's say, for instance, your business objective is to improve CSAT. So we need to be able to improve, customer satisfaction overall. So the required capability for this is customer empathy and active listening and problem solving. So once you're able to identify that, the learning initiative would come next. So the program that you would want to look into are customer experience masterclass or role playing sessions or empathy workshops. And then from there, you'll be able to also set your KPIs. Did the CSAT score increase or improve? Or were there lesser complaint rate? So it's measurable, and at the same time, there's immediate result towards business goals. And then next slide is another example. This time is for HR practitioners. No? So if the business objective is to accelerate, let's say for instance, onboarding and productivity of new hires, the required capability is to understand company culture, tools, and processes. And then for the learning initiative, examples of which would be onboarding excellence workshop, automating HR workflows with tech, and then DOLE compliant onboarding one-on-one. And then KPI is faster time to productivity and lesser early attrition. Right, next slide. Okay, so designing and sustainability. So design for longevity, build once but maximize usage for multiple purpose. So templates are very helpful, no? So you don't have to start from scratch every time. In our organization, we have a recent improvement also with our employment contracts, where we just have to change the necessary information, and we don't have to start from scratch. No, it eliminates errors. It eliminates, of course, the time that you have to consume to build the contracts. So employment contracts, job offers, and playbooks and micro learning. No? And then leverage internal experts as facilitators. So this is one good example that I mentioned earlier, wherein your internal team members are actually the experts, no? Especially those who've been with the company for a long time or they've been in the industry for long. They are the go-to or the point person that they can share their expertise towards learning. I think one of the things that I also like about what Eli mentioned is that learning is best when it's done with other people. So it's really nice that you're able to relate to other people from within the same industry. And then use existing tech. So if you have learning LMS or Google Workspace or internal tools, before you invest in new platforms, you need to be able to look into the current resources. And then from the assessment that you have, you'll be able to identify what are the next one that you need to invest to, what are the improvements that you need to be able to propose to management for you to have an easier and more efficient learning and development programs. All right, next slide. I think we can go, we can skip this one. I think I already mentioned. I think we can go to the key learnings next. Ayan, so key takeaways. Ayan. So focus on what matters in the business. No? So when resources are limited, best L&D strategy is to focus. So instead of spreading effort across too many initiatives, identify which business priorities need learning support the most. So whether it's customer satisfaction or leadership readiness or operational efficiency, every program should answer the question, how does this move the business forward? Yan. And then start lean, prove value fast. So you don't need a massive budget to begin building a corporate university. You can start with pilot programs, as mentioned earlier, maybe manager enablement series or digital onboarding path, then measure the impact and expand from there. Next is build towards sustainable ecosystem, not just training sessions. So the goal is to run more workshops to build a learning system that grows with the company. And think of terms of ecosystem. So clear pathways, shared resources, internal trainers, and data tracking is very important. So sustainability means programs are repeatable, measurable, and embedded in how people work, not one-time events. And then align learning is equivalent to amplifying performance. So when learning initiatives are directly tied to business KPIs, you create a performance multiplier. So learning stops being a cost center and becoming a growth engine. And then alignment measures or ensures that every peso and every hour spent on training contributes to improve results, whether in sales, engagement, or innovation. All right, next slide. So I would like to introduce to you Disperse. So Disperse is an AI-powered platform that personalizes learning paths for employees, helping organizations upskill their workforce through smart assessments and performance driven insights. So they have a personalized skill development. So employees receive a role based skill recommendation and AI driven learning path tailored to assessments and feedback. There's also engagement tracking, wherein this Disperse tracks learning engagement at both individual and team levels, giving leaders visibility into progress and participation. And lastly, actionable analytics. So built-in analytics highlight performance trends, training needs, and succession opportunities, so you can plan for the future with confidence. So with Disperse, so next slide, please. With Disperse, you can deliver learning that's relevant, measurable, and aligned with business goals, helping employees grow while driving organizational success. All right, so I think that's it for my part of the webinar. So if you want to learn more, uh, you can go into this QR code if you want to learn more about Sprout Solutions. And if you have any questions, or our employees can, or our team members can get back to you right away. So thank you so much for the time today, and good morning to everyone.
Hey, thank you, Abby, for the very practical and thoughtful session. It's really always refreshing to see how, people development can be strategic and achievable when tied to clear business outcomes. So again, everyone, keep those questions coming because we will be addressing them shortly in our Q&A session. Before we move on, we are excited to share a free resource that ties in perfectly in today's topic. So everybody, download your free copy of the HR Playbook for Building a Future-Ready Workforce, a comprehensive guide that breaks down how to design learning ecosystems that future-proof your teams and your organization. You can actually download it now by scanning the QR code displayed on the screen right now or clicking the link that's sent in the chat. This playbook is packed with insights and real-world examples from top organizations on how to upskill teams, strengthen leadership, and make learning a true growth engine. Definitely worth bookmarking after today's session. So again, I'll be giving a few seconds and moments for you guys to view and download the material so that you will have something to carry with you, and share it with your teammates once you finish, or once we finish this live session. Also, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank, of course, our speakers, Eli and Gladys, and of course, Abby, for those very thought-provoking session and, practical insights that, our people or our attendees today could apply to enhance, further and develop their employees through continuous learning packed with human interactions and communication. Okay, so we'd love to hear your thoughts on today's event. You should now see a poll or feedback form on your screen right now. So please take a moment to fill it out. And your input, of course, helps us make every HR expert sessions more relevant and valuable to you. We really appreciate your feedback, and it helps us understand what topics matter most and how we can continue bringing your insights that drive real transformation. So while you guys are, answering our feedback form, I'd like to also thank our participants today. I see that they're very, very interactive earlier through the live chat. And thanks to Gladys, Eli, and Abby for responding as well to make it more engaging for everybody. I also see that our participants are coming from, parts or across the Philippines. I see from Davao, Iloilo, we have from Rizal. So it's a mixture of Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao area. So we're very, very happy to welcome everybody in this webinar session. We hope to, see you more with our upcoming webinar experts. So just keep yourselves updated and tune in to our latest announcements coming in. Now, okay, I think everybody is ready for our next session. So it's time for our Q&A, guys. You guys excited to hear your questions be answered by our dear esteemed speakers, guys? I want you guys to type in ready in the chat when you guys are ready to hear more valuable insights relevant to your questions. Again, type in ready in the chat when you want to start our Q&A session to learn more, of course, with our speakers. Thank you, guys. Okay, so we have gathered all of your questions, and we'll start right now with our Q&A sessions right now. So I'll be inviting, of course, again, Abby, Eli, and Gladys, of course, to answer all the questions that I'll be throwing them one by one. Okay, so let's start. So I think this is a question that goes along with all of our speakers. So the first question is, in shaping a learning mindset, detractors are inevitable. How do we avoid people who refuse to learn? Or how do we change their mindset to be a contributor instead of a detractor? So I would ask Eli first, probably to share his insights. Then Gladys, then Abby.
Sure. So pretty complicated one because humans are complicated, but first thing I would say is, understanding why people do that. Why are people closed? Why do they not want to, why do they not want to change? It's pretty complicated, but a lot of times it's fear, it's self-relationship. So I think the biggest answer, the fastest answers I would give you is that you can't change people. Really, it doesn't work. You can't force people to want to learn immediately. So the most important thing is building a culture where it's the norm, and like it's just the norm, right? So then you kind of attract people, being very clear that you're hiring for these things. And when people don't fit and they kind of over time, they just don't, well, they probably don't fit. They probably shouldn't be there if that's really your culture, right? And if they're actually detracting from the things you're trying to do, then it could be that they just probably shouldn't be in the culture, to be honest. But just fundamentally, a growth mindset is something people can develop, but it's something that most people are not really that aware of. They don't know that they have a fixed mindset about themselves, about other people. So having conversations about what growth mindset means, building a culture where it's the norm, modeling, kind of really, let's say, spotlighting people who do take ownership of their own learning, who are very hungry and thirsty to learn, is one of the best ways to inspire people to start moving in that direction. But you can't push them to do it. It won't work. So just flat out, if you're putting energy into the people who do want to learn and grow and kind of really spotlighting how amazing that is, and that is the culture, and some people don't go along with it, that's going to be normal. If people are detracting from it and blocking it, then I would really say, like, after a series of kind of conversations to understand where they're at, that may be somebody that you don't want in the culture. Fast answer.
Okay, thank you so much, Eli, for those insights. Let's hear from Gladys right now.
I think I just want to echo as well, Eli, and really focus on the modeling part. Like, I love that Abby mentioned about radical candor, because that's something that I want to have in our culture. So, what I do is model it first, be really open, candid, and vulnerable in the meeting, in our leadership meeting, because I know that those leaders who will be there, when they see that, when they feel like, oh, it's safe to be open, it's safe to be vulnerable, eventually, when they go to their teams, they will model that as well. So that's what I actually that's my approach in terms of that. Make letting them see that this is possible. Like, and this is how it feels and how it looks like if you actually embody this. And then from there, they get excited of like, yeah, I want to be like that. I want to be able to show up that way. Sign me up to the training. So yeah, that's my take.
Thank you, Gladys. And let's hear it from Abby.
Yeah, so also echoing from Eli and Gladys. So yeah, but I couldn't agree any further because seeing it from the leaders is the start, and as what Eli mentioned, if there's resistance also from the learning, which is of course it's very you need to understand why are you resisting. Is there like what's hindering you from learning even further when it's actually something that would benefit you. So I guess just to add to that, reward and recognition should also be tied to having or encouraging people to want to take up even to further their learning and development. So if you can see some improvements from their productivity, from their performance, you need to be able to recognize that, and from there it gives them that encouragement. Okay, I want to do the same. I want to also increase my productivity. So how did they do that? It's through learning and development. So that's how they would be encouraged to do the same.
Okay,
And
thank you
let me
guys for
just add
sharing.
a tiny thing to what I said earlier, is that if you do have a chance of helping people want to grow, it may also just be that they want to be seen more, and helping, like, talking to them about the potential you see in them,
Yeah.
not just boosting their ego, but showing them where do you actually see their potential,
Right.
and that being recognized can actually sometimes inspire people to want to grow. Maybe they feel like they're not being seen. Could be a chance that you have.
Right.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. Thank you so much, Eli, Abby, and Gladys. So my next question would be for Abby. So Abby, in organizations that have newer lead learning and development teams, one of the big challenges is convincing the staff to prioritize training that they have been assigned to, or that they need based on assessment of training needs. How do we convince those that need to be trained to actually go through the training programs and prioritize these training sessions?
Okay. Yeah. So I think I can speak for our organization. In Sprout Solutions, we do quarterly evaluation. So from there, we are able to identify, okay, what are the things that you need to focus on for what are the things that you need to improve on? What are the things that you do so well at? What are the things that you can still develop? So from there, you'll be able to focus on the areas that you should maintain, the areas that you should start to develop or start to learn. No, if you, let's say for instance, you want to achieve a specific level, you want to achieve a specific role. How do you achieve that if this is the current evaluation that you have? No? So let's say, for instance, oh, yeah, I want to be a leader in the next 3 months or so. But from the evaluation that we have, you have some skill gaps in terms of communication. You don't communicate your instructions very well, or you don't delegate very well, let's say for instance. So you need to be able to close that gap for you to be able to achieve that specific level that you want to achieve. So that's also one of the things that would encourage employees to to take part of, or okay, now that I am aware of the things that I need to focus on, the next step is much easier for me to take. So yeah, hopefully that answers the question. That did it answer the question?
Definitely. Thank you, Abby. How about you, Eli? Want to share some insights as
Yeah,
well?
no, I think that's spot on what Abby just said. It's I believe just humans don't do that well with compulsory learning. Like if it's something that feels obligatory or pushed on us or mandatory, who wants that? Right? It's so much more fun if you're learning something you're curious about or that you see value in it for yourself. So what Abby said is awesome. Like if you can connect that there's something in it for them and that it actually takes them somewhere, and it's also something that they're specifically being invited to, or that it's being provided for them because of what the organization sees in them, then that helps with the buy-in. If it just is something that quickly gets dumped on them and they feel like it's going to be more work, especially if they've gone through something in the past that just feels like, oh my God, like I have to memorize things. So I think the trick is, how do you do that? Because it's a lot of work. What Abby just described requires a lot of very personalized communication. And in fact, it just made me think, like, I think we can improve the way that we do this with our clients. Gladys, let's work on this, because when a decision is made to run a specific learning experience for a group of people, how do you make sure that that personalized communication happens to them? Hey, this is you're being invited to this because, and this is why this is what I see in you. This is what I think it can do for you. One person can't do that for all those people, right? So their managers or leaders have to probably do it. So I think I want to systematize that better to make sure that we kind of coach, give a bit of a guide to the manager who has selected this person for the training, have the manager be responsible for telling them why they're selected and what they see in them, but guide them how to do it, because the manager may not really know how to do that very well. So yeah, I think that's something that we can improve also.
Thank you so much, Eli and Abby. My next question will be directed to Abby. So this is a very simple question. The attendee wants just to know more about the Lunch and Learn series.
Yeah, lunch and learn is very fun. You know, I love hosting lunch and learns in our organization. It's a way for employees to showcase what they know, what they are very good at. So examples can be anything out under the sun. You know, actually, so it doesn't necessarily need to be very like technical. You know, it can be something that I learned from a weekend workshop. Let's say I attended a coffee how to make coffee out of different ways to make coffee something like that. So yeah, I can use that as a lunch and learn. You know, it's something that you can develop personally and also professionally. So you know, of course, professionally it can be a series of things that people are good at, like let's say presentation skills. You know, if I'm very good at presentation, I can also use that as a lunch and learn series. You know, first will be, let's say, okay, how to create winning decks. You know, how do I present in a very visual, very attractive way. You know, and then the next series would be public speaking, for instance. You know, so yeah. Also, the lunch and learn can be tied to like a specific theme for a month. Let's say, for instance, if it's International Women's Month, which happens every March. You know, so the lunch and learns can be something that women can share about. You know, I think Gladys can be can be a very good speaker for that. You know, like how to communicate with let's say male dominant role. Let's say, for instance, if I'm the only software developer female in our team, how do I communicate with the male dominant department, something like that. So yeah, those are
Okay.
very
Mhm.
good lunch and learn examples.
Thank you so much. Very, very interesting. And you just need to be creative, right? Anything under
Yes.
the sun is very, very possible for you to conduct your brown bag sessions or lunch and learn sessions. Thank you. So my next question would be for Eli and Gladys, and Abby can also share her insights. So the question goes like this. One moment, I'll check on that question again. Where is the question? Okay. How do you guys measure the effectiveness of the learning and development programs that you do? Eli and Gladys, you can start.
I think for me, every time that we uh, launch or create program, provide program, we make sure that there's always a feedback survey and that we analyze it and see as well that how can we there's a process and system on how we can implement those feedback that would really help the participants to have more engagement or to really make the learning stick. So I just want to focus on the feedback survey, and I'm sure Eli can add to that.
Yeah, it's one of the trickiest, most one of the biggest challenges in professional learning or trying to upskill people within an organization, no matter what the skill set is. But again, the less technical, the harder to measure, right? So the more leadership oriented or human skills oriented it is, the harder to measure the actual business impact as well. So what we try to do is, as a third party partner with our clients, two things we look at. One is how can we actually help them build better systems so that they look at what are their methodologies for collecting data prior to and then post, and then how far down the road, and how do you really tie that back to the learning initiatives to see if it's legitimate. Obviously, there's anecdotal, so you can also gather observational information from managers, like these people are now showing up and speaking up with much more courage in meetings because of this program. It's obvious that it's happened, a big change, but again, pretty subjective. So it kind of depends on what is the change you're trying to make, and then we try to work with our clients to see what is possible when it comes to measuring data, because depending on what kind of technology people are using, they may or may not have access to a lot of data. And that's something we have to, on a case-by-case basis, look at what is possible. But the last thing I would comment on is learning initiatives are typically finite in time, whether it's a day, a week, 7 weeks, whatever. They typically kind of start and end. One of the things we really try to do is ask our clients, like, how can we get this installed in your systems? How can we get this into conversations as a habit, as a system in your meeting templates? Make sure that there's a 3-month and a 6-month gathering that's already scheduled, that people are going to come back and have a conversation like, how is this going? Is it really changing things? Are we seeing, so a lot of times it's helpful to really have that installed at the point of creating the learning journey or the learning engagement, that you know what that long-term tail is as well.
Thank you, Eli and Gladys. Let's have Abby to share her thoughts about that.
There, I guess from an HR perspective, you can also look into the employment satisfaction survey. If the investments that the organization is giving, what the investments are those effect on the employees. Like you can also ask them how they feel about a particular workshop that you attended. Did it make you more confident? Did it make you feel, like did you are you able to have some more clarity on, let's say, a specific direction change? Let's say, for instance, no. So it's not just how you perceive the employees' effect on the workshop, but also having to ask, how do you feel about attending that workshop, or how do you feel about that that training that we enrolled you into? Will you repeat it? Will you also recommend it to your colleagues? Is it something for you, for your role, or would you recommend something else? So it's actually a conversation as well. So it's not just having to really look into how leaders perceive it, but also how the other side would feel about it.
Okay. Thank you so much, guys, for sharing your thoughts about that question. So this next question would be for Abby. So Abby, in line with Leadership Academy, what's your take on fast-track development, where we promote first and develop as the new leader performs his or her role?
Okay, very interesting question. Because when we promote, usually you already see potential in that employee or in that individual. So we don't. Normally in organizations, we don't just promote for the sake of, okay, at least I gave you a promotion, or finally I'm giving you the promotion that you have been requested. It's always the case that you promote because you see potential in them, or you have seen their potential already. They've already proven it. So when you do promote and then you integrate the learning with it, it's like verifying that the promotion is actually well deserved of the employees will deserve that promotion. So it's the learning and development that comes with the promotion is actually just more of a support on how to sustain the job that you have done very well for you to earn that promotion. It's actually it's never the case that, okay, I will promote you, but the development comes second. Or if that would be the case, then you need to be able to commit to it, because there's no going back after promotion. It's especially in the Philippines, there's no such thing as demotion. No, it's very difficult to do it. So when you do promote somebody, it means that that person is the right fit for that role, and you need to be able to support it with the learning and development programs for that person to actually succeed as that new role. No?
Can I comment, just to add a
Sure.
thought? So yeah, the challenges of, like, exactly what Abby just said, like if you give people an official promotion into a specific job role, right, then there's risks that come with that, and maybe could backfire. On the other side, I would just comment that when people, again, when kind of like what we were talking about earlier, when people see that we believe in their potential and we kind of tell them that, and we stretch them. So there's creative ways, and it depends on the size of the organization. The smaller the org, the easier it is to do this. With startups, people wear lots of hats, and it doesn't matter what their actual title is a lot of times, right? But yeah, I guess also, and just on the philosophy of it, whoever asked the question, I do think there's a lot of value in just thinking about maybe not a promotion into a role where they've officially been promoted, but to be able to give people, stretch them into, hey, why don't we test giving you these responsibilities and see how you do. Let's get you upskilled into that because the goal is, whatever. But I do think people, I have seen people transform really fast when they're believed in and given something that you didn't think they were ready for. It's surprising
Mhm.
sometimes. So finding the balance between those two philosophies. But yeah, the rules make it hard sometimes to do
I
that.
And
definitely.
I just want to add as well for the
Mhm.
person, let's say putting myself in that person who just got promoted and not have the leadership skills yet. Maybe this person is amazing at the technical skill. That's why, like, oh, you're great at that. Maybe you can be a good leader too, because you set
Yeah.
a good example. But then again, technical and leadership skill is a totally different skill set. So for me, if I'll be in that situation, I think being humble enough and authentic enough to tell your managers of like, I'd love to take that role, but I don't feel confident in my communication. Can I get support in that area? So telling them what are the things that you feel uncomfortable with, just be honest and vulnerable so that you can be supported. And whenever I have whenever I see potential in people in our team and I see like, hey, you know what? Do you want to do this? Because I see you're really great at facilitating. And whenever they say like, actually, Glads, maybe I can do just this, but not that. I'm not ready yet. I really love when they're just being honest because then I know how to support them. Now I will be more informed on what are the support that I can provide. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you so much for those practical tips and insights that you shared, guys. So I think we're heading to the next question right now. This is for Abby, but members of the Emerge page can also share their insights. So this is a scenario. We subscribed to an online learning platform recently and asked each department to have representatives to take a course every quarter. We got very good feedback and renewed the subscription. But now that we're not assigning representatives, employees are not signing up for a course on their own. Any insights as to why this is the case? And can you note that employees are actually saying that they want training? So how would you comment on that situation, Abby?
Yeah. Okay, so when you do have when you do have subscription to something, you want to have definitely maximize it, right? You want to be able to have specific benefits from subscribing to a certain platform, to let's say a third party or whatever. No, so or in business terms, you want to have ROI, right? You want to be able to benefit, make it worth the investment. No, so there's really you cannot over communicate, the benefit of having these subscriptions. I think along the way it's just probably least prioritized. That's why they're not as probably as excited as they were when in the beginning. No, so it's always nice to have check-ins. No, what are the things that's working for you? What are the things that are not working for you? And if there are things that definitely works, then how do you amplify that? No, so it's a good way for you to be able to reintroduce the platform again, or the third party supplier again. No, especially if you feel, or if the feedback is that, oh, they're very beneficial, they're very helpful. No, um, and then at the same time, yeah, you can always gamify it. Like in our organization, we always gamify things. Like for instance, okay, if you have, let's say, um, the most number of courses taken in a month can get, let's say, a GC at the end of the month. That's something that you can implement. Or let's say number of hours spent on this particular platform gets one additional vacation leave or something. So you can be very creative about it. And then you can also have again, I mentioned earlier about the recognitions and the awards that can also be tied to learning and development, because sometimes learning and development can be a little bit boring, especially if it's something very technical or something that you need to, like there's even learning and development that needs to be certified, and you need to take a quiz, or you need to take like certification test, something like that. No? So it's very academic. It's very like like sometimes bookish, so and it doesn't work for everybody, but you can always make it fun. You can always make it encouraging in the sense of, yeah, like gamifying the rewards and recognition that go with it.
Okay, thank you, Abby. Let's have Eli and Gladys to share their insights as well.
Yeah, I think what Abby just said, check-ins are very important. That's a good data that they see the difference between having an ambassador actually promoting the program versus leaving it, allowing the employee to just take their learning on their own, because we're not used to that. Like, we're very used to a standard way of going to school and like the runway already given to us. So
Assigned.
assigned, right? So when we're left on our own, it's hard to make that decision because life happens to us. So I think since you already saw the benefit of having someone like really be the ambassador, like just keep doing that, because that's, you see the data that
Uh,
it actually work, or an
I don't.
accountability partner.
Yeah, it's hard to know because I don't think there's enough data in the question to understand the contrast between what they were
Mm-hmm.
doing with the assignment versus what they're trying to do now without that.
Mm,
But yeah, the thing is, people have to they have they have to understand what's in it for them, or kind of it has to be top of mind. The value has to be top of mind if you're expecting people to self-subscribe to something. And the psychology of why people don't self-subscribe can be various. It can be they don't see the value, it's not top of mind enough. There could be even other hesitations. They think it's going to be whatever they think, right, about it. But so yeah, I would also recommend, depending on the platform, depending on what you guys are trying, what it is, the content that you're trying to get people to subscribe to, is probably run some awareness, engage awareness. What's the word? Let's say, I don't know, let's say in your town hall or in your weekly stand up, having a little segment that kind of a conversation from the people who've taken that course already, or a little bit of a fireside chat about a specific topic, and use that to be the lead in. Because just like anything else, if you don't see social media content about something, you're not going to get interested. Like, what brought you to this webinar? You saw something that got your interest, and then but so if you don't do that kind of internal marketing, people are not going to sign up. They're busy. Like, they don't want to add something to their plate unless they see the value. So probably that's the missing piece, is the basically the tease or the marketing or the glimpse into it so that they would see the value.
Thank you so much, guys, for your insights. So I guess we're down to our last question. So everybody can share their insights. So what does a learning culture actually look like in a day-to-day operations? Let's have Abby first.
Sure. So learning culture is, it's not a one-off thing. It's a continuous, and a long-term investment. So it's something that the business should also have support towards. It's not just the employees asking for training requests and then approving it, or declining it. It needs to be a conversation. Why did you request it? Or on the other side, it should be like, oh, we need this because there always has to be a reason behind all of the training initiatives or learning initiatives, and it's a communication. It's not just like, I think what Gladys and Eli mentioned, assigning those trainings or development. It's more than just that. Yeah, just seeing the value of it, seeing the benefit of it personally and professionally, if you're the employee, and if you're the manager, seeing the results from the overall performance of your team, and as a business owner or part of the management team, you see that there's really an effect to it that's tied to a particular business need. So yeah, it's across all of the people involved in the organization. That's a learning culture.
Thank you. Let's have Eli.
So if you think about the word culture, like the way I would define that in a company or an organization is it's the way we are here, right? This is the way we are here. And when you talk about a learning culture, I would say there's, a lot of companies weren't started that way. So it may not be embedded in the DNA. Some are, like I will say the last two companies I built, the one before this and definitely Emerge PH, from the very beginning, that's one of our core values. And like, it is the way we are here. It's the way we talk about it all the time. It's embedded in everything we talk about. It's in our meetings. It's in our stand-ups. Like, we ask all the time, what is like the F up of the week is something that we have in our leadership team. It's like the F up of the week. Like, what was the biggest mistake you made last week? And what was the takeaway from it? Right. And we make it very safe to talk about that because the learnings usually come from those things. Right. So that's a key, it's a little thing, but it's a key thing that we embed that's just makes it very front. It's just always in the spotlight. If your organization wasn't built that way from the beginning and you want to move in that direction, it requires thinking about how do we systematize this? How do we get buy-in from the top of the company to where and then how do we build this into our kind of our hiring and our firing and our evaluation of people? Because and for me, it always boils down to, is it the norm that people take ownership of their own learning? Because it's one thing when you expect that the company's going to do it for you. It's another thing when you decide to take ownership. Because whatever you want to learn or grow about yourself, you can do it on YouTube. Like, whatever you want to learn, you can go get it, right? So is it the company's job to teach me, or is it my job to teach me? And the more that the individual is taking ownership of their own learning, then when something's offered to you, you grab it because you're hungry, right? So is that the norm? And the question I would just leave you with is, like, how can you, as no matter what your role is, no matter where you are in the company, how can you lead up, sideways, down? How can you lead in every direction to sort of move the company more in that direction of making it a place where, people here take ownership of learning, and it's just the way we are, the way we are here. But it takes constant effort to build that culture.
Thanks, Eli. And
I
let's
was
have Gladys.
I was about to say the same thing that I just typed in the session. That's what came to mind first, but also making it fun to learn. I think that's the best way for us to really learn is when it's not, intense, but it's just lightweight and fun. And whenever we do the F of the week, it's like everyone is just happy. And sometimes people will say, "Oh, I don't have," like, "Wow, you're perfect." And just making it light and humorous to actually create that culture. I think that's a good way to invite that learning culture in an organization.
Thank you so much for those meaningful insights that you guys have shared. And I think that wraps up today's edition of HR Experts. I hope you guys have learned from these esteemed panel of speakers that we have right now. But before we go, we actually have a quick announcement for everybody. So join us for our next HR Experts webinar this November 12th with the topic Payroll Excellence, Safeguarding Compliance, and Employee Trust. As we approach the 13-month pay season and prepare to close out 2025, this is actually the perfect moment to ensure your payroll infrastructure is ready to support your big 2026 growth plans. Scan the QR code to register and secure your slot. Once again, on behalf of Sprout Solutions, thank you for joining us for the Corporate University Advantage, turning learning and development into a growth engine. A big thank you once again to our speakers, Eli Harrell, Gladys Palarca, and Abby Galvin, for sharing their wisdom and real-world experience and how learning can be transformed into a true growth engine. If you haven't done so yet, please complete the feedback form and don't forget to download the HR playbook and for building a future-ready workforce to continue learning after today's session. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and continue building the future of work, one learner at a time. Thank you so much, everybody, and happy lunch. Bye.
Have a good day, everyone. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care, everyone.